Hey guys, John Oliver here. Welcome to Agile Wealth Weekly. So we're changing the name up a little bit. If you have any ideas on a name, please comment below. But this is a show that we do. We're going to try to do it weekly, where we take an article or something we've seen online or something within our financial planning industry, and either something we like or we dislike. We're going to demystify it a little bit, break it down, and then try to make it useful for you guys. So try to make it useful for someone that's trying to retire. Doesn't really matter your age. We're all trying to get to that financial independence. So we're going to try to break it down, make it useful for you guys. I'm here with the Agile Wealth Partners team. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Maybe tell us a little bit about you.
I'm Steve Livingway, and I'm the newest member of the team. I've been a public educator for over 30 years, a principal in Heartland, Michigan, Livingston County for 20 years, and always wanted to get involved, continue my career in educating people, and really found a great team here with Agile Wealth Partners.
I'm Nick Bohr, and I've been in the industry for about 18 years, and just big part of who I am and what I do is educating people and helping them make well-informed decisions. So we're really excited to start doing this on a weekly basis and just get good information out there.
So one thing we would like for you guys to do is in the comments and any of these posts that you might find this video, we're going to link our About Us on the webpage. So if you want to learn a little bit more about us or you want to reach out to us specifically, feel free to do it. We would really appreciate it. So this week, what we've done is we found two really good articles. These two articles actually talk a lot about what's going on right now when we're going through some sort of pandemic and you're looking to retire. So we said, can I still retire? That's the way we look at it. The two articles, one is a USA Today article, and it is called The Stock Market is Crashing and We're Still in Recession. Can I Still Retire? Awesome. Thank you, Steve. And then the second one is The 8 Ways Coronavirus Will Drastically Alter Boomer Retirement. So both these are really good. One of them is really good because it breaks down retirement planning in a kind of a nice way to think about it, and it simplifies it. So I always love stuff like that. It broke it down into 4 retirement culprits. So these are the actual 4. Today, we're going to actually go through just 2 of them. So for a matter of time and make the show, fun and interesting, we don't want to go through an hour's worth of information. We want to go through 2 of the sections. So today we're going to go through age and lifestyle. And then next week, we will go through income sources, and they called it withdrawals. I kind of named it nest egg because it's really about the idea of your nest egg producing some sort of income or withdrawals for whatever you may need it for, whether that's a regular income or maybe a miscellaneous income for lifestyle, vacations, or healthcare needs, etc. So again, today we're going to go over age and lifestyle, and just in general, guys, what do you guys think? So if I'm 1 or 2 or 3 years to retirement, or 1 or 2 or 3 years into retirement, without going into the financial planning part, what do you think this pandemic, this virus, the lockdown that's associated with it, how has that changed the life of that kind of that pre-retiree, post-retiree?
So if you look at the, sorry there, Nick. If you look at the first bullet under age, it says aging employment. And as you see how we're doing this talk today, a few months ago, we would have been doing this live. So aging employment, most people want to work in retirement, according to the recent surveys we've seen. And if you're planning to work in retirement, or you need to work in retirement to supplement your income, we think this has really changed what that employment might look like. It's going to be a lot more technology based. Even though the technology had been there, this pandemic really forced everyone to really embrace it and get comfortable with it. So you see people working from home and meetings run through tech. And so, and There's also going to be a lot of boomers retiring at the same time. And that means they're going to be vying for the same kinds of jobs. So the point there under aging employment, if we look back here to our retirement article, was those jobs may not be there. And if they are, they may look really different from what you had been planning for. So you can't necessarily count on that income. You really need to be independent from that when you're ready to retire. And if you can get that job in retirement, that's just gravy.
How about the person, you know, that I was thinking on the way here, I'm like, what about the person that's in retirement that said that I'll go back to work if I need to? That might not be the case anymore. You know, you might not fit the you know, the type of job that you wanted to. It might not fit your skill sets anymore, or you might not want to deal with kind of the new expectations. So it's not like you can't do it. It's just you're saying to yourself, no, this is not, you know, what I thought it would be. I just wanted to consult for 20 hours. That might not exist anymore. You know, we've got a lot of companies doing layoffs. I think what's interesting is something like this I guess we'll call it the pandemic. It's really showing a lot of cracks in some of the things that were already kind of brewing. So this just kind of accentuated them to the point where we're really seeing the idea of what exactly was going on behind the scenes and what could happen in the snap of a finger. And it's, again, when it comes to the retirement planning part of it, it's scary because you almost have to look at it as if you are going to retire today. So that's how you would kind of look at it. Say, okay, I'm going to retire today. What would it look like? If I retire at the end of the year, what would it look like? And then maybe go a year out and say, how can I figure out to work maybe that next year or so? What would that look like? Some people are maybe 3 or 4 or 5 years out. What does that look like? Which is a great example of what financial planning is, and what you should be doing is projecting that out and seeing if that works. One of the things that you need to plan for, and I want to throw this to Nick, is Social Security. So now if you're 62 and you thought you were going to work till 65, 66, 67, I mean, now what?
So that's a big thing, you know, looking at like the younger boomers, we've already seen in some of the financial planning that we've done with clients is that some of them are already a little behind in their retirement savings. And now how the market corrections and the economy has already impacted them from '08. And now Social Security is a big safety net for them. And a lot of them are starting to probably think, should I be taking Social Security at 62 because I need the income, and how will that impact me throughout retirement? If they don't think they're going to live a long time and they end up living longer than they think, you know, what's your example? What's $1,500 a month in Social Security at 62? Even with cost of living adjustments, what's that going to be when they're 82 or 85?
Yeah. What about and how about healthcare? I mean,
that's a big one too. That's a big one too. We've already started having that conversation with clients is if they are going to work or they're not, especially if they want to retire before 65, what's it going to look like for people, like you said, John, that are maybe 3 or 4 years from planned retirement? Now they're forced into retirement. They can't find a job. Now they've got to pay for medical for them and their spouse. How does that impact their retirement? How much of their cash flow is that going to use?
So a good example of that would be maybe someone that said, hey, I'll probably just do maybe like a part-time, 25, 30-hour job to try to get the benefits. But they were going to do it at a place where, quite frankly, as far as I'm concerned, if I'm in my 50s right now, I'm being very careful out there when it comes to just being healthy and staying away from anything that can hurt me or my family. So you might say to yourself, yeah, I was just going to go and be, I don't know, we had a client recently that went back to work. They went to Walmart and they liked him so much. He's like a manager of everything now. But a good example of that would be, hey, I was just going to go, to work at Home Depot. Maybe I'll be a leader in one of the segments, one of the, type of things that they sell, for example, maybe tools or whatever you're good at. but you're saying to yourself, do I really want to go work at Home Depot? I mean, is that a healthy place for me to go do? And then next thing you know, you wait a couple of months and you wait a few months before you know it, it's winter. So, you know, now you don't have healthcare. So that's that's a big deal. It's scary, and it's definitely something that needs to be thought about.
Yeah, I want to add, John, about healthcare. In the articles that we were using for this segment, I think it's one of those huge considerations. If you're planning to retire before you're eligible for Medicare, and you don't have healthcare lined up, you've had it through your employer. I mean, you may be shocked at how expensive it is to go out and get healthcare or purchase insurance on your own. I mean, you're really looking at another mortgage payment, you know, if you're going to go out and take care of that healthcare. And this pandemic, as you said, has really exposed some of those weaknesses in the system that, you know, you need to have it, and you need to have it in place. It's not something you can just, you know, think about later. So that's why when we look at age, I mean, healthcare is right up there. The number one thing you're going to look at. You got to make sure you're either going to have it through an employer or you're going to have it through Medicare. And if you have it through Medicare at age 65, you still have to realize all the costs that you are not necessarily planning for that come with Medicare. All the things that go along with that, that is a big eye opener. So make sure you're planning that with a professional.
Just to give them an idea real quick, I mean, currently, if you're looking at needing a Medicare supplement with a prescription plan and you're a couple, I mean, you're talking $300 to $400 a month between the two of you. If you're needing to buy health insurance, even an average or a below average higher deductible plan, you're talking $5,000-6,000 a year for an individual. You're talking $10,000 to $12,000 a year for a couple.
Plus, you may not be used to, if you have a decent plan with your employer, you may not be used to the level of co-pays and co-insurance so it's not just the supplemental plans, but it's your built-in costs are just a lot higher than maybe what you've been used to. So not to scare anybody, you can plan for this, but you need to take that into account, and that comes with age.
Correct. Absolutely. So which brings us really nicely into lifestyle. I mean, lifestyle, basically what lifestyle means is your expenses. You know, I mean, what expenses do you have that are needs? So obviously healthcare would go into that left column, maybe, if you look at it that way, and those are all of my needs. There are a lot of needs still, especially when you're, you know, just retiring. So if you're a few years into retirement, or if you're a few years prior to retirement, your expenses are not very low. I mean, unless you've done a really well job, usually you're kind of at the tail end of a lot of your mortgages, your car loans, obviously healthcare. You might have children that are still in college. So a lot of we'll call it, you know, the 55 to 65 group that we work with have a lot of expenses. So those need to be dealt with. That's the lifestyle, okay? And the secondary thing is, you know, you've done so well to work and get yourself to the point where you can retire, but, you know, how can I enjoy this retirement? And one of the interesting things that the article, the 8 ways coronavirus is going to affect retirees, is they talk about how lifestyle is going to change. So a little bit different, a little bit away from the financial planning part of it, but it does change things in the sense of, number 5 here, we're looking at it right now. I mean, are you going to take some of these vacations, and are they going to basically be just marked off the bucket list, that they're just going to not exist anymore? I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys think people are going to travel in a different way, or are they going to stick to their plans and everything will be fine in a couple of years?
I think a couple things. I think, number one, we talk about this a lot with people approaching retirement or in retirement. We call it they're living that what if. Oh, I need the money in case of, or what if this happens. Because of everything that's going on right now, people going into retirement today or recently went into retirement, I think you're going to see them really tighten the spending and be really scared over the next I'll call it year or two to maybe discretionary spend. And I think that could impact some of the memories and things they might wanted to do with their kids. I also think travel could change. I think that you could see parents or grandparents start to rent a cottage or a house and kind of bring the family together to enjoy those types of memories versus taking cruises and going to Europe and that kind of stuff because they're afraid of things like that are going on right now with coronavirus.
Yeah, that's what I just brought up here. Being more comfortable staying at home, bringing your family with you, spending more time with your family. That's really going to be, we think, I mean, just based on what we're seeing now, we think that's going to be more of the new normal, which, has some good points into it, but also something you want to take into account when you're thinking about retirement. Because usually when they're a newly retired, that's when the spending really takes off. I mean, that's the go-go years we talk about where, hey, I just experienced this myself. I was working 50, 60 hours a week, stressed through the roof. Boom, you retire. Maybe you're doing other things like I am, but wow, you really want to go out and do things. You got the energy. So that's just changing the complexion now because and even when these restrictions are lifted by the government, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's mindset's going to change immediately. So this is probably going to be a little bit more long lasting than just, what we're seeing right now at the moment.
Yeah, that's very important, Steve, to make sure that you're planning for. So the 2 points I wanted to make is you guys said it. I mean, was the idea of, are you going to be living in fear through retirement? So that Nick was talking about, or are you on the opposite end of the scale? Again, when you're first retired, you might find yourself thinking every day's a Saturday. And that, as Steve said, he knows it firsthand. That's how it feels, every day's a Saturday. You're wondering what to do.
John?
Hello?
Well, it looks like John's got a technical issue here. So I think what he was talking about is what I was saying under Larry's back, under lifestyle. It's funny. I was just thinking, we were talking about this the other day, how these are all related because John just said you don't want to live a fearful retirement. And Nick said you don't want that just in case. I can never touch my money just in case. And they're all related. When you look at when you're looking at, is your health care all lined up? Can you afford it? Are you going to be able to get the job you want? How is Social Security going to work for you? That's all. We have longevity there, one of the culprits. I mean, you could be retired 30, 40 years, and you don't want all those years to be worrying about these things. And that ties in with lifestyle. You want to be able to have a happy retirement and enjoy what you've worked for.
Yeah.
And if you don't have these things lined up ahead of time, if you're not sure you got healthcare set up, you can afford it, it's good. If you need to have your income sources, if you're planning on working, you've got to have those things lined up. You got to be maximizing your Social Security. That all goes into lifestyle. What's important to you? If it's not traveling right now, but you want to be able to afford to bring all your family in for a week at the homestead and they're not in a point in their life when they can do that. You want to be able to do that. So they all go together. It's really interesting.
Yep. No, I absolutely agree. Some of the other things that I also want to bring up when it comes to lifestyle, we as you see there, you talk about long-term care choice. Steve, you brought up people want to age more at home going forward. I think we're going to see, not that everyone, as they get older and they need to start getting help, it's not like everyone's raising their hand saying, I want to go into a nursing home, because that's not happening now. But I think you're going to start seeing more with this pandemic that's going on now, and people seeing that there are more cases and their family being more at risk in facilities. I think you're going to start seeing more and more people come to the realization of, you know what, maybe I want to build that little in-law suite for mom, or maybe I want to build that extra space for dad, because after the one spouse passes away, as they get older, that I think the kids are going to want to start bringing them closer together to just be that help for them, because a lot of times it's just the basic stuff. They can't cook for themselves every day, or they need help getting around, getting up and going in the morning. Sometimes it's basics.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
The article here makes a point, Nick, that, you know, we've all seen on the news people in the hospital or a nursing home, and you can't have visitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the article makes a point that is really ingrained, and no one wants to be in a position as you're aging that you cannot have your family around you. And I think this is going to be a long-term change. And I also think if that model for long-term care and nursing homes change, it's going to be more expensive, because if you're going to provide more space for everybody,
choice,
you know, it's going to be more expensive. There's just really no way around it. And so those are all going to come in, and those are things to plan for. If aging at home really is important to you, as Nick said, you plan that. And you need you're going to need the financial resources to do what you do to make your house accessible, or to add that extra living quarters for family, or whatever you're going to do. You want to be independent enough where you're making that choice. Maybe you decide, you know what, no, I want to go to a retirement village and I want to be social with all people my age. And then you have the money to do that if that's your choice. But you got to plan for this. And we think it's going to change because of, I don't know if it's really changed. I think it's just really brought it out even more so.
Yeah.
That, what people don't want as they age, and it really made it more clear what you do want.
You know, I want to bring up a point, and this is kind of scary to me, but Steve, you kind of brought it up briefly in regards to, you know, you can't see people in the hospital or in a nursing home right now. My mother-in-law, who's only 70, I think she's 75 now, she told my wife that if anything happens and she gets sick with this virus, she's not going to the hospital at all.
Yeah.
Like scared to death of getting this virus. And she's healthy. For a 75-year-old, she's extremely healthy. She has no major health issues. And she is scared to death that she's going to get this and does not
unfortunate.
go to the hospital. So there's a perfect example of someone, even who's healthy in her mid-70s, this is changing her mindset already. And I don't think her mindset is going to snap and go back to the way it was when this kind of settles down. I think as time goes on, as people age even more into their 80s and 90s, I think it's just going to reinforce, I really don't want to go into a facility. I really don't want to go into a hospital unless I really need to. And that is really going to change not only how we help as a society, as how we help our parents and loved ones as they get older, but it's also going to change the facility, Steve. Like you mentioned, you know, there's going to be more room. There's probably going to be less nursing homes and more retirement communities, or more places like assisted living, but maybe not quite with that title. I think it's going to drastically change over the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, one good thing that's come out of this maybe, because it's going to be more important to age at home. And luckily, my mom, she lived with me the last couple of years of her life. My dad, he was 3 houses down from me and needed a lot. They were able to do that for the most part. But telemedicine has really taken off. The technology was already there, but it went from, you know, maybe 20 times a month to 500 times a month that care providers are using telemedicine. I think that's a good thing. That will allow people to age at home and not necessarily have to, you know, how am I going to get to the doctor? Who's going to take me there? My son can't take off work every Friday to drive me in there. I think that's going to actually help people, and that's something that you can plan for. So I think that could be a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Really, I think pushed it forward a lot quicker than it might have on its own.
I think so. That actually makes things, if you look at it that way, then maybe we will live longer, right? So as technology continues, We already are seeing it in medicine. Now technology, if it can help, maybe we're living longer. And so I know we're talking about kind of, can I retire? And we're talking about, people in the 55 to 65 year age range. And now we're all of a sudden talking about long-term care and being 80. But the reason why we're talking about it is because you need to plan for that now. You can't plan for that when you're 75 or 80. You got to plan for that now. And I think the points that you guys made that were really good were the idea that it's going to be choices. You want to be able to have long-term care or long-term health care, older choices. And the only way you're going to have choices if you plan correctly so that you have the ability to make those choices. So it's something that you earmarked. Because a lot of times oftentimes when we're doing retirement planning for people, they're saying, what do I need all this money? Like, I paid my mortgage off. I got 2 cars. I own them. I might have 1 car payment over the course of time. And, but we always say, if you do a little math on just eating healthy in the future, you'll do that math for 20 or 30 years. That number's huge. It doesn't even make sense.
It's drastic.
Do some math for, it's unreal, right? Do some math for alternative healthcare. So maybe you're into yoga, or maybe you're into vitamins, or maybe you want to go to the healthcare center. That adds up. And then do some math for, maybe there's a drug out there that will keep you alive for another 5 or 10 years. It's a heart drug. It's not quite approved by all the pharmacies. So it's going to cost you $600 a month for the first couple of years until it starts getting driven down in price. And then do the math for, if you want choice in where you want to age, you want to do that at home, or if you want to do that at a long-term care community, then you're going to have the money to pay for that. That's where all those dollars go. And so if you're taking your nest egg and you're kind of doing that 4% or 5% rule, and you're slowly spending it down, at some point those dollars start to become very small. And oftentimes they become very small when you're in your 80s, right? So now you're 80 years old and you need to go to a long-term care facility. But your curve that you set, that 4%, 5% draw off your nest egg, is now, maybe you started with 500K, now you've got $125,000. And you're saying, okay, so what am I going to do with $125,000 when they just told me that it's going to cost me $85,000 to live at this long-term care facility? So it's something that
we'll get into a lot more of that next episode, right? When you said, John, that we want to give our clients choices, it really rang a bell with me, and it's so true. When as an educator, that's what I always said to my students. Why do I need math? I'm not interested in it. Why do I need to do well? What do I need this for? And I'd always say, I want you to have all the choices.
Correct.
When at a certain age, you might decide, you know what, I'm not interested in this. I want to go into this field. But you'll be making the choice. It won't be made for you because you were unprepared. You did not have the education you needed. And someone else was deciding for you, no, this is all you can do. It's the same in financial planning when we make that same relationship, and we want to say, we want you to be able to make your choices moving forward. We want you to be prepared, have the resources, and you decide what's important for you. You want to travel, you want to stay at home, what is it you want to do? And you are prepared to do that. You're making the choices, maybe with your family, but someone else isn't making all those choices for you because you're unprepared.
Correct. And so kind of to finish it off, and we're going to get into sections 2, 3, and 4 next week, income sources and nest egg / withdrawals. But just to leave it at that, and to kind of reciprocate what Steve's saying, is the idea that, really what we plan for and what everyone should be planning for is that independence. So even when you're 25, what Steve was saying is, if you're prepared and you have done a lot of different things, you're experienced in a lot of different ways, and you've taken in all the information and knowledge that you can to put yourself in a situation where you can choose. To me, that's independence, meaning you chose your job and you're happy. So you're living a very independent lifestyle. And same with retirees, as well as our clients that we work with. Is the whole idea is we're trying to create a way in which that they are fulfilling their goals and dreams and the things that they want to do, but they're doing it when a pandemic comes or taxes get increased or the stock market goes down 30%. They are insulated to the fact that, hey, you know what? We planned for this, and we know that we just need to be a little agile here during this situation so that we can get through this. But at the end of the day, we're going to actually come out ahead. And so that's really what planning does. That instead of just kind of reacting after the fact and doing that in a way in which it's very laggy because you're trying to figure out what you're going to do, who you're going to hire after the problem came. You want to do it prior. You want to have your team in place, and your team could be anybody. I mean, I don't know who your team is going to end up being, but we always say that we feel that everybody needs a partner to really realize their full financial independence. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Another housekeeping item, we're going to do a webinar. So this is section 1 and 2, and then we've got section 3 and 4 next week. In about 3 weeks, we're going to be doing a webinar that's actually going to take some of these topics, and we're going to delve into them a little deeper, and we're going to give some strategies and opportunities. So we're going to take the problem, we're going to do strategies around that problem, we're going to do opportunities around that problem, and we hope that you guys can join us. If you want a pre-recorded webinar that we did, it's not quite the same. It's more of a our reaction to what's going on after the pandemic just started. So the crisis has started, and we did about a month ago. We did about a 45-minute solutions-oriented, generally speaking, but it just really talks about what's changing. And if you want that webinar, if you want us to send that to you, just comment below, or just get a hold of us somehow, email, comment, whatever it may be. Or if you just want to talk to us as a team and do a 15, 20, 25-minute phone call and just to get some information about who we are and how we can help you, again, please reach out. All that information, our contact information, will be with all these posts. So for me, I hope everyone stays healthy and takes care of themselves and their family and their friends as well. And, you know, just keep that mind clear and, you know, enjoy some of that fresh air that's out there now, and, you know, stop getting bogged down with some of these, you know, news and things of that nature. Just try to look at that positive and some of the things that it's really been doing, like, again, bringing us back to our families. So again, for me, John Oliver, thank you for coming, and you guys want to say bye here?
I'll say, yeah, John, I keep cutting you off, Nick.
All right.
We talked, as John said, about a month ago, and we really felt this was people are sheltering in place at home and essential workers are out there. We thought this is a way we could give back and really help. We figured there's a lot of things going on in people's mind, but one of them, if you were thinking about retiring, or you're just, you know, there's a lot of fear that is coming in right now. We wanted to be able to offer some information, some guidance, as John said, kind of take away some of the myths or the things that people think, and really give some good information. So we decided it would be really important for us to be able to do this now and really try to put this out there. We'll have links to these articles as well. This one is from Forbes, really good article. This was and we'll do some more on that on our next topic, our next session, but how coronavirus will alter retirements. We'll have a link to the USA Today article. Can I still retire? And I think we'll also have, as John said, some links to who we are and what we do and what makes us unique. We don't want to go into that right now. We wanted to get you some information, but take a look at it. It is a little different from what you might be seeing just in general out there. And I'd just like to say thank you for giving us your time. Hope we could give you a little bit of good information today.
Well, and I just want to say, you know, reiterate what John said. You know, please stay safe, keep your family and your loved ones safe. And to reiterate again what Steve just said, that's our goal and objective here, is to give you guys good information, and hopefully you found value and some good information in some of the things we shared. And appreciate your time, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.